from Warangal. Actually, I'm from
Okay.
Warangal. I'm doing my
Okay.
MSc Psychology in Kaktiya University. In that way, I found this link from the group of MSc Psychology group people. So this is
Okay.
like very interesting, and we are knowing so many things inside us. It's
Okay.
really helpful for the self as well as to cooperate with the other people and understand to their mindsets to an extent. Thank you so much. This
Okay.
is really helpful for me.
Thank you. Thank you. So yeah, we will start in a moment. I think we'll just 1 minute or so. We will start. There are about 35 people, so just give a minute and then we'll start.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Suman garu,
Yes, Inu.
can we start?
Yeah, yeah. I'm sharing. So I was busy sharing. Yeah, we'll get started. Okay. Good morning, good evening, greetings to everybody, and welcome to this eighth day in the workshop of Universal Human Values. Today we are going to focus on the nature in the harmony in nature part. So we have seen various dimensions of human participation, right from within ourselves, with the body, and then we saw with other human beings how the participation is. Then we saw in society how is society. I mean, what are the things required in society to be harmonious, and what is the human goal as a civilization where we are supposed to be headed to, where we should be working. So we saw all that, and then now the dimension that next dimension that we are going to cover is the harmony in nature. So before that, briefly again, let's finish the thing where we left off about the we were summarizing yesterday, and because there is so much content, it is important to assimilate things also in a proper manner. And we said in relationships, we were talking about trust. So in the natural acceptance of the other person, if you're able to see that the other person also wants me to be happy, we said that assurance, that confidence that I have, that the other person wants me to be happy, that will give me a feeling of trust on the other. And if I am able to see that, usually what we do is we relate with the competence of the other, the ability of the other person, only we try to see, and we are not able to get this feeling of trust on the other. So just like our own desire, thoughts, and selection is messed up to some extent, the other person's desire, thought, and selection would also be messed up because of all the input that is coming. and and in their whole process of upbringing, the other would have formed a particular way of living. I would have performed a particular way of living. Now neither of them are can be said as a superior way of living than the other. Ultimately, both me and the other have to align with our natural acceptances, and that is the only way we can live in a harmonious way, right? But in the meantime, if we are only looking at the competence of the other and not looking at the natural acceptance of the other, then we are trying to modify the, manipulate the other, dominate the other, all this will keep happening. But if we see that the natural acceptance of the other is also to be happy and to make me happy, and if we try to relate to that part of the human being in the other, then I can have this feeling of trust, the assurance that the other wants to be happy. And as far as the competence part is concerned, we have to work, just like we have to work on our own competence, we can try to support the other also in improving. So if we are spending some time effort on our self development, we can provide these avenues of self development to the other also, because ultimately the self of me and the self of other both has to develop. Then only we will be aligning with our natural acceptance and be harmonious within. Right. So that's the way forward for any relationship. There would be issues, there would be differences. Also, sometimes fighting at the level of taste would make us stuck. Like for example, I want Colgate, somebody wants Pepsodent. There is no conclusion that can be made at the level of taste, because unless we talk at the level of purpose, that's the desire level. In desire, thought, and expectation level, if you're expectation is about the taste, right? So at the taste level, if you're fighting on many things, I want pink color, somebody wants yellow color. I want this food, somebody wants that food. Both are fighting for the taste only. So there cannot be any conclusion at the level of discussions on the taste unless the dialogue matures to the level of purpose. For example, this paste is healthy for my body, or that paste is healthier for our body, or this paste, will good in the long term, or that paste will be good in the, or actually the whole thing paste itself is bad. We need to use something else to keep our gums strong. So the discussion of at the level of purpose will help us resolve a lot of things, instead of discussing and fighting at, I want biryani, somebody wants Manchuria. So this kind of thing is the level of taste level fights. So those don't result into anything. Let's try to go to the level of purpose and have the dialogue, so that will be more meaningful. Even at the level of purpose, I may have a different approach. This is the right approach towards kids, that is the right approach towards kids. But again, the relationship is even a higher value than the ideology, right? So we need to recognize that and prioritize that over other things, over the thought and over the selection. The desire is the most important thing. The natural acceptance that I want to be in that relationship with the other becomes the higher priority. So that is one thing I wanted to mention about trust. And as far as respect is concerned, the respect is a feeling born out of right evaluation of the other. Feeling born out of right evaluation of the other body or other self. Can you please type in the chat window? Is it the other body that we are evaluating, or the other self that we are evaluating? Yeah, we are evaluating the other self. And what do we realize when we evaluate the other self? What is the conclusion when we saw that in the respect? After evaluating the other self, what did we conclude? That the other is also like me. Yeah, the other is similar to me. So as far as potential, purpose, program, and potential are concerned, they are the same. The only thing is difference could be competence. This either I have to learn from the other or I have to help the other. Is there any question on the respect? So when I rightly evaluate the self of the other, yeah, is somebody having a question? So usually what we do is we look at the physical facilities of the other, or we look at the body of the other, or we look at the thinking of the other, or we look at the likes of the other or dislikes of the other. Based on this, we try to respect some people and some disrespect some people. We feel related to some people and we don't feel related to some people, right? But actually, if we see that, the purpose, that is, the other also wants to be happy, I want to be happy. The other also has to have right understanding, I need to have right understanding. And the other also have the potential for right understanding, I also have the right understanding, potential for right understanding. When we see this, then any human being I interact with, I have a feeling of respect. Okay, the other is also like me because of that person's competence is X. I have my competence is so and so. So yes, Srivani Garu, can you please unmute and ask your question? Srivani Garu, can you please? You have a question. So she's asking, can't we just respect a person without evaluation or judgment? Yeah, in fact, we are saying this is the we are not trying to judge the other person. So we are not trying to decide whether to relate to the other or not relate to the other. We are saying we can relate to every person without judging. I mean, if you are getting a sense that we are actually judging the other, no, we are not judging the other. We are rightly evaluating the, in fact, we don't evaluate rightly, that's why we judge them, or we judge them based on what they're doing, we judge them based on what they're liking. Oh, this person's likes are different, this person's behavior is different from mine, so I won't feel related. So what we are saying is, look deeper in that person, and you will see that the person is exactly like us. And is my audio not good? How many of, can you please confirm on the chat window? Is everybody able to listen to me properly? Is my audio okay? Okay, thank you. Thank you for confirming. Okay, so thank you for confirming. So yes, so what we are suggesting is, the proposal in front of you is, don't look at the person's body, don't look at the person's face, don't look at the person's color, don't look at the person's what they are wearing, don't look at how much big their house is, don't look at the car they have, or don't look at the bank balance, don't look at the post they're in or position they're in, the power they have, or don't look at what religion they're coming from, what caste they belong to, or what region they're coming from. These are all the aspects of the body or the competence of the person, right? What we are saying is, look at the natural acceptance of that person and the potential of that person. We and other are exactly the same potential. If we look at the innateness of that person, if we look at the purpose, program, and potential of the person, then we will feel every human being is like that we are interacting with is no big or no small. We are all just the same. We are playing different roles depending on where we are from, where we are coming from, where we are born, what we are doing. All that may be different, but all human beings are fundamentally human beings, and every human being has the same potential to be a full-fledged human being. The potential is the same. Unfortunately, in a lot of there is a lot of misconceptions. Like, for example, some races are superior to other, some castes are superior to others, some religions are superior to. This is the fight. The whole fight that is going on in this world is, my belief is superior to your belief. This is the whole fight that is going on. But ultimately, everybody has to evaluate, self-verify and access their natural acceptance, what is their innateness, and then live in harmony with everybody else. That's the only way forward for anybody, irrespective of where they are coming from, right? So then, when we look at the right evaluation of the self, then we will feel that the other is like me. This feeling that the other is like me is the respect. That's the right way of respecting any human being. Any other way of respecting, any other way of showing attention will be disrespect to that person. You can also see how some people disrespect us based on, like, for example, what our power is, or where we are coming from. If they're treating us differently based on that, then we feel disrespected. Right? Is there any question on this aspect? You can take one or two questions if there are questions.
So good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
So any other feeling towards the others is basically due to their incompetence. Am I right?
Any other feeling in the sense, for example,
If we
what
do
kind of
not have
feeling?
a right, if we do not have a right feeling towards them, if somebody is making us uncomfortable or whatever, we don't feel a harmony with another person, that is not the right way of evaluating them, and this could be due to their incompetence, or how do we see
Actually,
it?
yeah, very nice point, ma'am. Thank you for raising. If you are having any other feeling apart from these feelings towards the other, it is not the incompetence of the other, it is my incompetence. Because any other feeling is not acceptable to me, naturally acceptable to me. Is anger naturally acceptable to me? No, I don't want to be in a state of anger. Is jealousy acceptable to me? No, jealousy is not naturally acceptable to me. Right? So actually, what you pointed out is a very nice question and a point, that if why is why are some people saying there's audio issues? Okay. Um, Maybe let me just quickly exit and rejoin. I don't know why people are
No, you are audible, Andy. Yes,
No,
please.
sir, you're
audible.
okay.
Okay, all right, fine. So maybe can somebody respond in the chat window for them to rejoin? Sivaji, can you please respond to them? Yeah, thank you. So yeah, actually, if you're not having right feelings towards somebody, we usually blame it on the other, that it is because of their incompetence. Okay, but actually, it is my incompetence to have the right feelings within me. So it is actually my inability or the gap in me which is making me not have the right feelings. If I have the right understanding about human beings, for example, if I am able to see the natural acceptance of the other person and the intention of the other person, I can never have any other feeling but trust. But I mean, as of now, I'm not able to see this. This is only information so far, but as an experience, any person that we interact with, or that I interact with, if I am able to see the intention of the other, then I will not have any other feeling except trust on that person, irrespective of their competence. If the competence is less, I will have a sense of responsibility, not anger. If the competence is more, I will have a sense of responsibility to learn. I have reverence towards that person. But I don't have anger. Anger is only going to come when I don't have the trust on the intention of the person. So it's easy to, this is a common pitfall kind of a thing, that the other's competence is less, so that's why I'm getting angry. No, if the other's competence is really less and you're able to see the intention of the other, then we are actually supposed to feel responsible for that person, feel a sense of compassion, feel a sense of empathy towards the other, that the other is in a pain, the other is, is not able to do something well, so I have to help the other. I feel compassionate towards the other and not angry towards the other. The anger will come only when I doubt the intention of the other. So I hope
Yes, sir.
thank
So,
you, ma'am.
so Sanjana has a question there. Is it also lack of trust? I guess yes.
Yeah, Sanjana ji, can you please unmute and ask what is your question?
Sir, so if we get angry, is it that we do not trust the intention of that person,
Yeah,
or that we are not reassured that he's still trying to make us happy? It's not incompetence from his part, is it so?
correct. Yes. Yeah, you think about it. Like, for example, if I really see the intention of the person, that person wants me to be happy, is trying, if given a chance, he wants to make me happy at any cost. But for whatever be the reason, is not able to. If I'm able to see this, not on the paper, but actually experientially see this, somebody is unmuted. Can you please mute yourself for a minute? Venkatramanji, can you please? Yeah, thank you. So if I'm able to experience this, not just see it on, I mean, understand it logically, but actually experience this, that in every person I'm interacting with, I'm actually feeling that the other person wants me to be happy. Competence may vary. So that if I'm able to experience, then I will have a feeling of trust within me. I will have the experience of the feeling of trust within me, and it will continue to be there.
Sir, so then we will not feel that ill feeling at all if we develop that to that extent.
Correct. Yes, you're right. So all the negative feelings that we have are actually feelings of absence of the right feelings. So for example, if I don't have the trust on the other, then in the absence of trust will manifest in the form of anger, or the absence of respect will manifest in the form of disrespect or over evaluation or undermining somebody. So that could be a form of jealousy or envy. So all these kinds of disrespect feelings, I mean, will manifest in the absence of respect. So if there is respect, these ill feelings will not have any space within us, and all the right feelings, they are not dependent on the other. Just because of the fact that the other is a human being itself, we can have all these right feelings towards the other. But anyway, this is a very deep thing. So it first of all, it may look fit in logically, but experiencing this will take some reflection, take some time to see it in our life, day-to-day life, feel it and experience it. Then we will slowly build that realization within us, and then understanding within us, and that yes, every human being wants to make me happy. Every person around me wants to make me happy, and because of their varying competences, they may not be able to do that. So that's what we will slowly realize. And Swarnaji, there is a lot of noise, but we can't hear you anything. Sheshagirraji, your question of intentionally bothering me. So we think the word intention is misleading here, but the intentionally the person is bothering us because he thinks that's the only way he has, or he wants to achieve something, and he thinks that is the only way to achieve it. But it's a part of competence, doing that. For example, a terrorist is bombing. They think that that's the only way to achieve something. That's why they are doing it. But that's not their it's a matter of competence that we believe that this is the way ahead. We believe that, for example, hitting the child is the only way to make him listen, so we do that. But it is not really our intention to hit the child. We think that at that moment this is the way ahead, but it's a matter of competence in me. I don't find any other better solution. I don't have any other better way to tell the child that this is not to be done, so I go ahead and hit the child. But actually, when I do that, I feel bad, I feel guilty. I wish I had a better way to tell the child that this is not supposed to be done. So it's a matter of competence, that we do all the wrong things because of our incompetence.
Sumanji.
All right, so
Sumanji.
yeah, Lataji.
I'm Lata, Lata from Cochin University. See, I have been introduced to this topic of UHP from attending some other workshop. I have been trying my best to practice this concept, right understanding, mutual harmony, all those things I have been trying. This is the time I am getting the two important points. One is, see, I already know that my competency level is because of my incompetency. I am still struggling to get along or to get happiness in myself, from family, from society, nature, everything. But see, instead of, I am trying my best also to improve my competency. But in addition to working on my own competency, I have to work. I have to help others to build their competency, improve their competency. That is a very good point I am getting from this. Maybe I missed it in some other workshop. And another point is, see, the relation is more important than ideology. That is also a very important point for me. Actually, these 2
Okay.
points will help me to improve much better in a faster rate.
Yeah, nice, ma'am.
All
Great. So, only one point I want to draw your attention to in this, whatever sharing you have done. So, we are not trying to get happiness from the others. We are not trying to get happiness from the society and nature. We are trying to actually give our, we are trying to be happy within and share our happiness with everybody. So, we are not trying to correct the other and get happiness from them, or correct the other and get respect from them, or correct the other and get the trust from them. We will have the feeling of trust and respect within us and share that feeling of trust and respect with everybody. So everybody will feel comfortable with me. That is the goal. And I think you meant the same thing, but I'm just
Yes,
technically
yeah,
correcting that word.
yeah. I meant the same thing. But
Yeah,
always
yeah.
there is still, I think, see, in this group, all the group participants in this attending this workshop, they are trying. Actually, they are in this path. Actually, the path
Yes,
of self-development. But
yes.
those who are not attending, there is a problem that will be there. They will be creating problem or more challenge for us in workplace as well as in family.
Yes.
That I my responsibility is big. That's what I'm feeling. Anyway,
Yes.
it is helping. This attending this workshop, that definitely will help a lot.
Great, great. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
So, yeah, we'll all
Sumanji,
work
I am
together.
RP Meena.
Yeah.
Hello. I am
Uh-huh.
RP Meena
Please.
from Hubli, Karnataka. So,
Okay.
one thing I want to add here. In my opinion, if you are having a right feeling for the other person, so it get
Mm-hmm.
automatically transmitted to other person, and he also feels good about us.
Yes.
I think
Yeah,
so.
you're right, sir. Yeah, we see that in our day-to-day interactions. So, for example, when somebody comes to me, and I was actually talking about this just before this session with one of my a friend and colleague. If we are able to listen to somebody without judging them, that itself is a big thing we can do to anybody. If we can be that one person whom anybody can talk, my friend, my wife, my children, my parents, cousins, brothers, and anybody, colleagues or others, can come and talk to me without worrying about how I'm going to judge them. That itself is a great thing that we could do to our relationships. It's not a small thing to be that person who is not judgmental and respect them irrespective of what they are and how they are. So you're right, sir. If we have the right feelings in us towards the other, then definitely it will reflect in our relationships. And the one good indicator is actually that more and more people will want to talk to us, spend time with us, and feel comfortable, being with us. So that's a very good indicator of our own competence, how much we're able to understand. So yeah, the next one which I wanted to mention about is affection. We have to quickly finish this and go to the nature, harmony in nature. So affection we saw is that the other is related to me. So this feeling that the other is related to me, when I have that, that's the feeling of affection. And the feeling of care is maybe you all can also keep typing in the body, sorry, in the chat window. So the care is the feeling of responsibility towards other body. Guidance is responsibility towards other self. Reverence is acceptance of excellence of other. Glory is feeling for those who are working for excellence. Gratitude is feeling for those who work for my excellence. Love is feeling related to everyone, to everybody. So these are all the other feelings that we spoke about, and we spoke about care and guidance in detail. As a parent, we spend more time on caring, and we miss on the guidance part that we mentioned. And then that's an important thing to remember, especially while interacting with the children. We should focus as much as on guidance and more on guidance than also on the care. Is something, I mean, this also indicates that, working more and more, 12 hours, 16 hours, 18 hours, convincing myself that I'm working my family is actually is contradicting, because they want our time, not just the facilities that we provide them by earning a lot of more and more money, right? So that's why we mentioned the importance of guidance here, as much or if not more than care.
Sir,
Yeah, Prabhulanji.
this love
Yeah.
is such a general relationship, whereas in
Yes.
practice it is reserved only to the lovebirds.
Yes. Yeah, you mentioned this in the previous session also. Yes, so love is a very, what you call a powerful, I mean, it is something maybe even, I mean, it's a very higher level feeling which is still not reachable by most of us, and maybe only very few have experienced it. It is that feeling that every human being is related to me. Like, for example, as of now, we feel, if take an example of corona. So when it started in China, we didn't feel it so much, that what's going on in, in there, how many people are dying. We didn't really get that feeling or pain or worry or concern. But when it crossed to borders and came into our country, little bit of fear came in, little bit of worry came in, because we are feeling related to the people in my country. Then it came to my own state, and then when we started hearing that somebody in our real relatives got coronavirus, or somebody, my friend's a relative got coronavirus, then we started panicking more, getting worried more. So why is this happening? If somebody in China or Europe or somewhere else, they had, we didn't feel so much related to the other, right? So, but in love is that everybody is my relative. So that is a very, even, I mean, expanding or encompassing feeling, very big feeling, but it is used in a very narrow sense as an attraction between the girl and a boy. That is referred to as the love in the movies and everywhere. But we know that that is only to catch the attention, and to the typical hormonal attractions that are there. That's what is being referred to in the movies. But the love, we know also other meaning. We have seen it in the literature, and we have seen it being in the great personalities who have shown that love towards every human being. Also, we have heard about. So that all-encompassing feeling is the love that we are talking about. Should we be worried if care, affection, guidance shown by us to our children seems unseen by them, and they reciprocated not well despite of our showing these? Is that they lack trust? So when we are giving anything, we are giving because we need to give. Because I am responsible to give, I mean, because I need, I cannot be comfortable if I don't trust the other. That's why I'm trusting. I can't be comfortable if I don't respect the other. That's why I'm respecting. I can't be comfortable if I don't care for the other or guide the other. That's why I'm caring and guiding. So it's not for the other, it's for myself. That we need to remember. In all these feelings, when we are showing all these feelings towards the other, we are not showing it for them. It is for my own self, that without having these feelings within me, I can't be comfortable. That's why I'm showing these feelings, right? So that's what I would say. And we are not really concerned whether the other is actually able to recognize it or not recognize it. Naturally, it will happen. They will recognize. Why can they not recognize them? They would recognize. But that's not the goal when we are having these feelings. It's for my own self. What's the difference between affection and love? Are they same? So yeah, usually affection is referred to in the close circle. When I feel related to one people or few people, at least one person, if I'm feeling related to, that could be my close family or my close colleagues. It's referred to as affection, the sneha bhav. Whereas love is a all-encompassing one. When every other person we have that feeling. So we develop these feelings with no expectation from the other. Yeah, that's what we said, right? So we are not dependent on the other. So we are not, the remote control for my feelings or my emotions is with me. Whether the other respects, whether the other trusts me or not, whether the other is able to show gratitude towards me or not, is a matter of their competence. I cannot do anything about it. It is depending on their upbringing, their state of being. It all depends on all that. But I'm not going to be, I mean, I'm not supposed to I'm not going to get disturbed by how the other behaves, how the other is treating me. I have to be independent of that, right? So how can I be independent of that? By having these feelings in me, irrespective of the other's behavior. So expectation is not there, yes, that the other person will do. Expectation is there, but I mean, what I mean to say is whether the other does that or not, my feelings towards the other would not change. Right? Eventually, we can work together to both of us to be better human beings, and then we can share these feelings mutually amongst each other. But I mean, the goal is that I'm not going to be disturbed by others' behavior or other not showing these feelings. Yeah. Okay, I think we have only 50 minutes left. So now let's go to the nature part. That's also a very interesting thing to learn. So let's get to harmony in nature. So we have been seeing various dimensions of our living, and we live as part of nature also. Nature is one of the important dimensions we live in, interact with day in and day out, whether it's the food we eat, whether it's the land we walk on, the air we breathe, and the water we drink. Everything is nature that we are interacting with. And it is very important to understand how this nature functions and be a part of it in a coexistence manner. So harmony in nature. In nature, if we observe, there are 4 different types of orders. One is a material order, the other is a plant order, the third is an animal order, and fourth is human order. So let's have a look at these 4 orders. Somebody is unmuted. Can you please mute yourself? Material order, plant order, animal order, and human order. So what all do come under material order? Can you give some inputs? What all falls under the material order? Yes. Earth, air, water, metals, Resources, facilities, yes. Building, fuels, yes. Mountains, etc. And what all come under the plant order? Yeah, that's pretty straightforward, right? So plants, trees, yeah, vegetables are part of trees, yeah. But yeah, all vegetation, etc. Herbs, grass, etc. All these come under the plant order. What all come under the animal order? So the animals, all the pets and wild animals, etc. Birds, under the sea and on the land, etc. Yeah, all in the animals, yes, except human beings. Correct. Right. So these are the three orders. So now if we look at the interaction between these three orders, between material order and plant order, is the material order supporting plant order for its being and growth? For example, we have like earth, air, water, air supporting the plants and trees, right? Continuously, they provide nutrients to the plants, help them in their growth. So all the plants are actually growing in the material order. So is the material order supporting the plant order, enriching the plant order? Can you type a yes or no in the chat window? Okay, so the material order is constantly enriching the plant order, right? What about the plant order and back to material order? Is it enriching the material order? Yeah, so the plant order is also enriching the material order. How is it doing? For example, when the leaves fall, or when they dry up and go back into the soil by decomposing, right? And similarly, when the tree also falls down or when the tree is cut, it goes back into the material order. Even the fruits and vegetables and everything that are there, those also go back into the soil from our human excreta. Then fossils, yes. Somebody mentioned fossils. All these plants, when they die, I mean, when they're go under the ground for thousands of years, then the fossils are formed. Then absorption of the plant waste, whether it is water from the plants, droplets from the plants, all this is absorbed by the material order. So wonderful. So these two are mutually enriching each other. What about the plant order and human order? Is the plant order supporting or enriching the animal order? Is the plant order enriching animal order? Yes, right? So, for example, all the animals, they eat, the birds eat the fruits, the animals are eating, some of the animals are eating plants, they eat the grass or the herbs or whatever is available, they are eating. So that they are getting enriched by the plant order. What about the animal order and plant order? Is the animal order enriching the plant order, or is it exploiting the plant order? Is it enriching the animal order, enriching the plant order? Yes, right. So, for example, the animal waste, whatever excreta is there, sorry, that is good to material. So, for the plant order, the animal order is providing things like, for example, pollination is happening for the plants to blossom, right? The birds are doing it or the insects are doing it. So all that is happening because of the animal order. Even there are some forms of seeds which will not actually grow unless they are eaten by some animal, and then in the excreta they go into the soil, only then they can grow. Otherwise, those seeds cannot grow. Right? So the animal order is mostly dependent, but also enriching it. At least it's not causing any pollution to the plant order or the material order, right? And animal order, material order supporting the animal order. Is it enriching the animal order? Yes. So just like plants, animals are also completely dependent on the air, water, and other things that they get from the material order, including the sometimes the caves, the rocks, etc., are also helping the animal order to live their lives comfortably. And what about the animal order enriching the material order? Is it enriching the material order? So this enrichment is happening based on, like, for example, when the animal dies, it goes back into the soil, becomes part of the soil after decomposing, or the excreta from the animals go back into the soil and etc. So these three orders, if we see the plant order, the material order, and animal order, they are in a very nice balance actually. So, do we see if, let's say, human order was not there and only these three orders were there, would there is there any pollution at all in these three orders? If human order is not involved, and if on the earth only these three orders were there, is there any form of pollution? The amount of waste that is coming from plant order or animal order is neatly being absorbed by the material order, right? Or similarly, whatever is required for the plant order, that is being given by material order. And similarly, there is a self-regulation also happening. So, for example, the number of tigers that are born in the forest is different from the number of deers that are born, right? Because the population has to be well balanced within the forest. So that's why the number of kids that each of these species have is also different. So for a tiger, there will be like maybe only one child or a less number of children, whereas for for example, dogs or pigs, the number of children, offsprings in each delivery are more. So there is a balance, delicate balance that is maintained by these orders, and there is absolutely no pollution at all, no plastic, nothing that doesn't get absorbed into the soil for thousands of years, nothing like that. Everything goes back into the soil very nicely, right? And also, if you see, the number of male and female population is also very well balanced, and also number of trees and plants and herbs also in a forest is well regulated. So there is space for every species or every kind of plant in this three orders. Now, if we look at the human order comes into the picture. And let's see, is human order dependent on the material order? Is the material order enriching the human order? Yes, right. So the human order is very much dependent on the material order and taking a lot of things from material order, like earth, air, water, all the materials that we use, even the gadgets, the plastic, the silicon, everything that we use is dependent on the material order. And what about the plant order? Is the human order dependent on the plant order? Yes. So we eat the plants, the vegetables, the fruits. We are using them for shade. We are using them for wood. So we are very much dependent on the plant order for oxygen. Also, somebody said, and so yeah, various things we are using from the plant order. Similarly, animal order. Is the human order dependent on the animal order? Yes, right. So we are again eating the animals to some extent, and also we are domesticating some of them. We are using them for our own production purposes, and then we are using them as pets, etc. And also the animal's order is indirectly required for the plant order and material order to flourish. So we are also indirectly dependent on them. So human order is also, the animal order is also enriching the human order. Now let's go backwards. Like, what about the relationship between human order and material order? How is this thing? Is human Okay, overconsumption. Human is dependent on all the three orders. Yes. What about human order? Is it enriching the material order or exploiting the material order? Is it enriching the material order, exploiting the material order? Human beings. Yeah. So a little bit of enrichment indirectly happens, like for example, the human excreta is going there, or some kind of. But most of the time we are making use of them than actually enriching. For example, the air that we take, we are polluting the air or enriching the air, right? We are polluting the air mostly. The water, we are making use of the water, but when what goes back from us, from the human beings, whether it is from the industries or whether it is from the houses or whether it is from anywhere that's just flowing through the human beings places, it is not at all useful for the animals also. It's very dangerous once it crosses the human beings. So we are kind of polluting the water. Then metals also, we are digging up all kinds of ores from the material order and trying to make use of them. Fossil fuels, for example, fossil fuels is a very big material order which is very sensitive and is being destroyed by human order. Right. So what is pollution is nothing but, for example, the nature has a particular speed at which it absorbs some things, like whether it is carbon monoxide or carbon dioxide or any kinds of these things. If humans produce at a rate which is more than what the material order can absorb, then it becomes pollution. So the speed at which we are using them is much more than the speed at which the nature can regenerate them. So that causes the pollution. Similarly, the plant order. What about the plant order? Is human order contributing to the plant order, or is it exploiting the plant order? What are we doing to the forests? What are we doing to Amazon forests? What are we doing to all kinds of like the manipulation of the seeds that we are doing, making sure that it doesn't grow again second time and grows only once. What are we doing to the plant order, right? We are exploiting like anything. They say that some hundreds of football fields worth of forests are being destroyed every minute and every hour at various places of the world, and that is resulting into so much of imbalance. So all this is because of our lack of right understanding. We are doing so many things towards the nature. So, and human order towards animal order also, we know Corona is a very good example of that. And the situation that we created for ourselves is because of our lack of, the kind of exploitation. At least the current information that says is the human interaction with the animal order was not right, and that's why that led to the coronavirus that we have today. So the human interaction is under big question here. And why is this under big question? Because we haven't understood nature properly, right? So the human participation towards material order is under question. The human participation towards plant order is under question, and human participation towards animal order is under question. So this is the current situation of harmony with nature. The nature itself is in harmony, wonderful harmony, whether it is balancing the male offsprings versus female offsprings. So only in human beings, if you see the population of male and female population in some states, it's completely skewed, because we know that the girl children were not allowed to be born in some areas and only the male were preferred. That's why there is an imbalance. But nature in itself has a beautiful, delicate balance of maintaining that continuity of species from generation to generation. Right? But human order, because of lack of understanding, has not been able to. So nature has two important features. So one feature is that everything is cyclic in nature. So if you take, for example, water, the water goes from the seas to the clouds, and then clouds to rain, and then rain to, we use the rain or rainwater, flowing water, then from reverse to the seed. We heard about this water cycle. Then there are many other cycles. Carbon cycle is there. How the carbon goes from, like for example, the soil to the plants to animals and then back to the soil. So that's the carbon cycle that we studied. Then there is nitrogen cycle. There is oxygen cycle. There's so many cycles. So everything in nature is going on in a cyclic manner, and our participation should not destroy this cyclic, the speed at which this cyclic thing is happening. If we destroy the speed, then it will become pollution and it will disturb the balance in the nature. And the second thing is there is self-regulation in nature. So if self-regulation is also manipulated, for example, recently there was an experiment where I think in Florida they were going to do this. They modified the genes of the mosquito in such a way that the mosquito will kill its own children. Okay, search for this this is just last month I was sharing this article with one of my friends. So they manipulated the DNA or something of the mosquito in such a way that the mosquito is going to kill its own offspring. So they are trying to reduce the mosquito population somehow. So what they modified is it will kill its own children. So what is going to happen? Mosquitoes are coming in there because of particular reasons, like a moisture is there or something is there which is making the mosquitoes come. If they disappear, the other species which are regulated by the mosquitoes will suddenly start growing up. Whatever has been the role of mosquito is now suddenly is not there. Something else issue will come up. So this self-regulation, if we are disturbing, then we are not even seeing what is going to happen. Same thing we saw with the seed manipulation. They manipulated the seeds of the genetic modification of the seeds has been done, and the goal was that the pests, when they eat the leaves, they should die. That's what they modified, BT cotton and these things. So what happened? Not just the pests, all the animals that were eating the leaves died, or died or impacted their health. And the cotton which is coming out also, when that is worn by human beings, it was causing irritation and allergies. So that is what is happening if we are trying to intervene in the nature in an improper manner. So that is what is the current situation, and the only solution to this is the right understanding in the human being. If we have, then we can participate in a proper manner in the nature without ensuring the cyclic. And for example, even in the farming, we can ensure cyclicity, we can ensure self-regulation, keeping these in mind. Sorry, the farming could be done in a much better manner. So now let's go into understanding more deeper things in nature. Let's look at the various characteristics of the various orders. For example, material order, plant order, animal order, and human order. So various characteristics of these orders at even fundamental details. So let's look at the activities, for example. The things that are there in this. In material order, we have things like soil, air, water, we saw this. And in plant order, we have plants and herbs, etc. So you'll see some interesting things here now. In animal, we have animal body plus I, a self. In human being, we have a human body plus an I, that is the self. So here actually under plants, we have animal body and human body also. So our body is also like a plant. Just like we nurture a plant, we provide nutrients, air, water, etc. for the plants. Similarly, the human body is also like a plant. It needs that nurturing protection for it to grow. So we as a human being, we have been seeing that me and my body, right? So this body is pretty much like a plant actually. So that is the first characteristic of differences between these various orders. And then activities that are going on in each of these orders. In material order, we will see composition and decomposition. So we see, for example, the iron rusting and or the elements of nature, coming together, and there are reactions happening. So either composition or decomposition will be happening continuously in the material world. Whereas in the plant world, there is composition, decomposition, plus we will see something called as respiration. So the plant is continuously taking in carbon dioxide and giving out oxygen, right? So that's the respiration aspect of the plant. Okay. And then in the animal order, we will see composition, decomposition, and respiration in the body, and selection happening in eye. So we saw the activities in the self, right? Desire, thought, selection. So out of these, in animals, predominantly only the selection activity will be running. That is one of the main differences between animals and a human being. So in human being, we will see composition, decomposition, and respiration in body. And in the eye, we will see desire, thought, selection, selection means it's just based on the taste. So in desire, thought, selection, we said desiring is imaging, and thought is thinking, analysis, and selection is based on the taste. So if we are, like, for example, when we go to a buffet and we are just picking up food based on the taste, then we are just selecting a few things there. We are not even thinking whether this is good for health, not good for health, or how much should I eat. All that I'm not looking at. I'm just picking up things based on its taste. That is called a selection. So that we can see in the animals. And also in the human beings, we see a need for right understanding. So for example, for a dog, if it rains today, tomorrow, 10 years later, 100 years later, it will still run for shelter. Whereas the human being wants to understand, why is it raining? What is the periodicity of this rain? How can I protect myself from the rain? So all this kind of knowing, the need to know is predominant in human beings. So the need for right understanding is there in human beings. That's on the activities front. So that's why we said that if we are operating only at the level of physical facilities, that's almost like in the animal order. If you remember, we said that in the scope of living, we need right understanding, relationships, and physical facilities, all of them. And if you are operating only in the in the scope of physical facilities, that's like operating in human consciousness, we said, right? Yeah, that's because in animals only that selection keeps happening, whereas as a human being, we want all relationships, right understanding, and physical facilities. All three we need. Yes, the taste is fixed. So animal eats something, whatever is healthy for nurturing its body, that only they eat, and only in the quantity they need. They don't even, just like us, they are not eating for satisfying their selves. They are only eating for keeping their bodies healthy. Innateness. In the innateness. Okay, this is an important one. So here it just exists. In the material order, just exists. That's the innateness. In plant order, there is existence plus growth we see. So if you put a stone, it stays like that for any thousands of years, whereas the plant is growing, like it takes elements from the air, water, soil, etc., and then it grows. In animal, we see existence plus growth in body and a will to live in I, in the self. In human beings, same thing. We see existence plus growth in body and will to live with happiness in I. So that is an important difference. So important thing to note is that there is a will to live in the self, in animals also. So if yeah, let me not comment anything on that, but yeah, just if you can recognize that there is a will to live in the animal also, then our choice of whether we should eat animals or not, maybe that will help us decide on that front. Okay, then the natural characteristics. Okay, then I'll directly jump into conformance, or yeah, let me write about another thing, which is the basic activities going on. Here, there is just recognition and fulfillment. So recognition and fulfillment means something like, for example, if you drop a stone in the water, the relationship between the stone and water is fixed, that it will go into the water. Similarly, if you throw a stone into the air, it will come back. So there is a recognition and fulfillment between the materials and happening continuously, and it is fixed by the laws of the nature. These are the laws of physics that we all keep studying. So if you put a pierce needle into the skin, if the needle is sharp enough, sharper than the skin, it will go into the skin. But if it is blunt, it won't go into the skin. So this interaction is fixed in the material order by recognition and fulfillment. Same thing in the plant order also, recognition and fulfillment we see. Okay, sorry, just give me a second. There is a technical issue. In the animal order, we will see that there is assumption also coming into the picture. Do you have any questions so far in this, whatever content has been shown so far? If you have any questions, please unmute yourself and ask the questions.
Sir, excuse me, sir. What is the third characteristic, sir? That is, just I have missed that one.
Which one?
Existence and growth. Existence and growth. That is what is that? Left side.
Innateness. It's called innateness.
Innateness, sir. Okay, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
How selection in I is there in animal?
So the selection is what is determining the taste. So taste happens at the level of selection. In the activities of desiring, thinking, and selecting in self, we noticed that when we were looking into the self, that the level of selection is happening based on the taste. So for example, I want to eat something, I pick something which is tasty, suppose, instead of looking at whether it's healthy or not, all that. That is selecting purely based on the taste. But this taste is already kind of conditioned over a period of time, right? But for animals, they are selecting based on the taste. So whatever is healthy for them or whatever is required for their survival, they pick up based on that. So that selection you can see where, like for example, the cow never. Can you please mute, sir? There is some noise. Epic gamers also. Can you please mute? Yeah, thank you. So, for example, the cow is always eating grass. It doesn't eat flesh at any point of time, right? So it is doing that selection that it should eat grass only or whatever that other plants it can eat. Similarly, the tiger will never eat a grass. It will only eat the flesh or whatever meat it wants to eat. So this is the selection that is happening in the animals, and that selection happens based on whatever the breed that they belong to. We will see that in the conformance in the next stage on what basis they are doing that. We will look into that. Just give me a second. Yeah, please go ahead. Raghuveer ji, please go ahead. You have some question?
Okay, it is okay.
Okay, thank you. Epic Gamers, madam, I think you were asking something.
No, nothing. I just forgot. I'll ask you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, just give me a second. I'm coming back. Okay. So the next activity that we are, the next thing we were looking at is the basic activities. In animals, we will see that there is assumption, recognition, and fulfillment in the I. So there is, you can see assuming, recognizing, and fulfillment in the I. And in the body, it's just same as this. So recognition and fulfillment. So this assumption you can see is, we can see, for example, pets, you can see that they can identify their master. But if some other stranger comes in, they will shout. So this they are able to do because they have assumed some human being as a master, or there is some relationship they have assumed with some person. So based on that, so we can see a faculty of assuming that is happening in the animals. Whereas in human beings, we will see that there is again recognition, fulfillment in the body, and in the self, we see there is knowing also. Knowing, assuming, recognizing, and fulfillment. So I need to, there is a need to know in human beings, apart from assuming. Anyway, we also assume, so this fellow is my friend, that fellow is not my friend. These kind of assumptions we also have, but there is a need to know also for human beings additionally on top of the assumption faculty. So the last one and the most important is the conformance part. So as far as conformance is concerned, this is just based on the constitution. So, for example, if you break up something into two, then depending on what material it is, it will, like if you break wood into two pieces, you get these two pieces of wood, right? So, or you can separate by some processes like osmosis we do, and we separate a few elements. But depending on whatever are the constituents, so depending on those, the elements will get separated. So that material order is constitution based conformance. So the next result on whatever we do on the material order depends on what it constitutes of. So for example, if you pour an acid on something else, the reaction will depend on what are the constituents of those two materials. It depends on that. So that's the constitution conformance. And the plant is seed conformance. So what is seed conformance? So if you put a neem seed, you're going to only get neem tree. You won't get a mango tree. If you put a mango seed, you will get only a mango tree, not any other tree. So the tree is actually conforming to the seed. So everything is there in that seed that determines how the plant is going to evolve. So it is completely dependent on the seed. So similarly, yeah, when we nurture that seed, it grows and there are so many fruits, then the seeds of that tree again will be conformant to the same seed. So the next generation, basically what we are saying in the plants, is determined by the seed. Whereas in the animals, it is conforming to the breed. So a tiger's child will always be a tiger. A dog's child will always be a dog. So a dog's child will behave, or I mean, for example, a cow's child is a calf, and it will eat the same things that the cow was eating. It won't eat flesh like the tiger eats. So similarly, tiger's child is another tiger of the same breed, and that will eat the same thing that the mother or the father would be eating. So they are completely breed conformant. In human beings, this is the interesting and the most important part. They are conforming to the right values and sanskar, that is right living. So for example, a mathematician's son won't necessarily be a mathematician. A lecturer's son does not necessarily, son or daughter doesn't necessarily have to be another teacher. Or similarly, a mother is very good at music doesn't mean the child is going to be a great musician. They may pick up some aspects because of the parents, the environment that is provided by the parents. They may pick up a few aspects of the parents, but doesn't necessarily mean that they are going to be exactly like the parents because they are something. So the human being, the next generation is determined by what values they are getting, what education they are getting, and what sanskar they are getting. That is the living aspect, how they are living in their upbringing and in their environment. So that is what is going to determine the next generation in human beings. That they are completely education. Again, please don't look at education as a typical schooling kind of education. What is the right education we spoke about? Education is getting the right understanding and living in all levels with the harmony that we define as education. So that education, when the child gets, and if the child is also facilitated to live in the right way, in the right living, like the habits or the schedule, the lifestyle, etc., everything, if we are providing it, which is facilitating to get towards this right understanding, then that next generation will be according to that. If they don't get, then accordingly they will be also showing up in the next generation. So this is a very important aspect of difference between the animals and plants and materials and human beings. Any questions on this?
Hello.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, good morning, Sumati. So, when you look at humans, like humans will also are having the same aspirations, like, according to the natural acceptance, we are also same, right? We become different only when we go through some pre-conditionings, like conditionings of the conditionings, like, having good education, on good health. That is our own perception, and that is all our own creation. It is not created by the nature. So wherein nature have created us all in the same way, like, we all have the same body parts. Maybe there is a difference in sizes and shapes, but then we all function in the same way, and all the needs are also same for us. But no, after that, we just make few enhancements because we have certain misconceptions about the nature. We don't have the right understanding, so we think that by doing
Yes.
some makeup or by having something which is we just fall into the competition, and because we don't understand each other well. So those
Correct.
those things come out of our own misconceptions and our own misunderstandings. But when you look
Yep.
at the nature level, we all are same, right?
Absolutely. Definitely. Whatever you're saying is totally right. You're talking about the potential of the human beings. So the potential of the human beings from generation to generation, it is going to be the same. So just by being a human being, every
Yeah.
human being has the full potential to be excellent human being. But it is in our hands how much of that potential we realize. That depends totally on the values that are being provided to that child and the upbringing and that right living environment for right living. That determines how much of that potential can be materialized, whether it's
So
parents
I
providing,
think
teachers.
I
Yeah.
think there is nobody. I think the value is just the value of the human being is just to be human. Like if they are behaving like animals and plants, what is their value? Is that it's just they are doing their things. That's all. So if you also recognize to do our own things, to be human, that's all. There is nothing else, right? So
Yeah, yeah.
it's
I think we are talking about the same thing, madam. So what you're saying is that we are all same as human beings. We all have the same natural acceptance. We all have the same ability to become into a wonderful human being. That is true. But what I'm
But then
saying
there
is
is
that,
nothing like the parents or the school or anything. What are they trying to teach us actually? If you say it is a value, then what is a value other than being human? What is a
yeah,
value which can enhance our lives? There is nothing
correct.
else, right?
Yeah. What you're saying is the same thing as me. What you're saying is we have to recognize and be as a human being. That recognizing and being as the human being itself, we are elaborating into this whole workshop. It's the same thing, but because of our attention being outside and being somewhere else, we are not able to see what it is to be human. This whole workshop of
Yeah.
universal
So,
human
but
values.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But when we look at these things, like even when we say that these values need to be taught by the parents or the schools, but really, are they teaching those values? No, they don't teach us. Actually, they teach something else. Actually, but not the human being a human. Nobody will teach you, right? So
Yeah. Okay, ma'am. Yeah, let's, I will conclude it briefly. So I understood what you're saying. But yeah, if you have further, maybe we can take it up in the evening, ma'am. But yeah, what you have said is right. So the schools, the parents, the teachers, unfortunately in the current system, there is not enough focus on how to realize our potential of being a full-fledged human being. And if we don't realize how to be a full-fledged human being, we can be something else. That is all our conditioning and how we are picking up various things and desires, etc. So, so what we are saying is just like this in this workshop. What are we doing in this workshop? We are drawing your attention to what exactly is being human. Being human is nothing but accessing our natural acceptance and living by it. That is exactly what being human is. That is exactly what being human in harmony within myself and being harmony with everybody else.
So does that
So
need
that
any
is,
schooling and things like that? Like no, to access an actual acceptance, we don't need any
yes,
kind of.
that's what the school is supposed to do. And unfortunately, we are not doing that. But that's what this whole education is for. Spending 15 to 20 years in school, that's what they're supposed to do. And we are not focused on that. That is a sad part of the schooling and education that we have today.
Yeah. Thank
Yeah.
you. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, man. Um, any other questions?
Sir,
Yes, ma'am.
sir, if this conformance depends solely upon the education, sanskar, upbringing, and right living, then how come in a family we provide the same kind of upbringing to our children? And definitely there is some innateness in them which decides on how they get molded into. Even in among our siblings, all of us were brought up the same way, but we end up being totally different. We see this in our children also. So it is. I feel it is not only the education and sanskar. I don't know how to put it. I guess you got my point.
Yeah, I understand your point. Yeah. So yeah, what you said is true, ma'am. That even the children of the same age in the same family, although they are being provided with the same things by the parents and same environment, there is definitely difference in the way they pick up and difference in the way they are responding to these things. So let's just say that the starting points are different. So this self that is coming into the human body is coming with from somewhere, right? So if there is some, let's assume there is a background to that self, and hence the starting point of how much resolved that self is already is different from self to self. So and hence the starting points of where we are starting from, how resolved we are when we are starting our journey in this life could be different. And in this whole life also, how much we travel also could be different. So even if you're starting back a little bit, how much we are utilizing this life as an opportunity to resolve this self and reach that state of harmony, that is also this opportunity in front of us. So how many ever years that we are living, this is exactly for understanding that, identifying and accessing that natural acceptance and then living by it. So what you said is true. Although the same environment is provided, the children or different siblings could pick it up differently.
Thank you, sir. That's exactly what I wanted you to bring in. So I feel in the last row, last column, that is incomplete without this point also.
Yeah, sure. That will raise many more questions. So that's why usually I don't touch that point. Yeah.
Okay.
So can I ask? Can we take one more question?
Yeah, sure, ma'am. We can take one more question before I
So,
just saw your.
in the same family, if the siblings are behaving in a different way, doesn't mean that because they are behaving in a different way because that natural acceptance is not activated in them, or is it because of the previous life karmas being carried with them? What is the
Yeah,
reason?
that's why usually I don't get into this area, because this is all again going into theory. Neither I have experience nor anybody amongst us has experienced. So let's just based on our own observations, let's just see the fact that even being providing the same environment, the children are responding differently. So some self may be already little more resolved than the other self, and hence they are able to pick up things easily, whereas some other self may not be that resolved, so they may need some more assistance or more journey to become that resolved. So
But
let's
once the
let's
natural
stop it.
acceptance is activated, even though there is much difference in their understanding because of the previous karmas, but one natural acceptance
Yeah.
is there in
So the
everything. Once it is
potential is
activated,
same.
so yeah, potential is
Yeah.
same. But
Potential is
someone
same.
activates that natural acceptance with right understanding, then everyone can behave and understand, have that
Yeah.
understanding in the
Agreed.
same way. Right?
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. If you, me, anybody, if you all access our natural acceptance, all of us can become that full-fledged human being. There is nobody special or nobody, devoid of that opportunity.
Hello.
Okay. Yes,
Hello.
madam. Padmaja, madam. Yeah, please go ahead.
I want to know how can we help our elders with this content who don't have knowledge about it and who will not be able to follow it. How can we help them with this content?
I will ask you a question back. Why do you think they will not be able to follow it?
Because they'll have their own preconditions, uh, so they will not accept it just
Okay.
like we
So,
accept it.
Yeah, whether it's elders or children or peers, anybody may not accept it. So it's all a challenge, ma'am. I mean, we can only provide that opportunity, right? So if
No,
if
I want
they
to
feel,
raise one point because
yeah.
elderly people, because they'll be bodily very functioning in a low level, means competence will be decreased. So
Mm-hmm.
in confidence levels or any uh, in terms of body and mind, they'll be functioning a little bit lower level. So they'll be more prone to think in that term, and
Yeah.
natural
Okay.
acceptance and all this will be very good, little bit theoretical, because that is the
Yeah,
generation
yeah.
gap, and
Yeah, I'll respond to you, ma'am, because it's time. So I just want to tell everybody that so we see you all in the next session. We will in the next session we are going to. So we have seen so far about the various levels of our existence, and we try to understand the various levels of existence. In the next session, what is going to be very important is that we are going to present some ways we can implement this in our lives. So how do we implement this whole knowledge that we have gained in the at the level of self? How do we implement all this knowledge in relationships in our own life, in our family and society? How do we implement this at the level of society? How do I evaluate my participation, and what can I do and to increase my participation in nature? So all these details we will be sharing. So what we heard is all information so far, theory. Now next level is actually practice, implementation. So that right living part, we will provide you with all the information in the next two sessions on how to actually implement all this information. Otherwise all this theory will just remain as theory, right? So we need to actually figure out how to implement. So that we will see in the next session. So in the evening discussion session, please go ahead and ask all your questions about nature. And in the tomorrow morning session, then we will continue with the implementation part. So Padmaja madam, so like Ramkrishna Rao ji, who is here and the group is ready to actually respond to you. He is about 82 or 83 years old, and he never considers himself as aged enough to
well,
not
such
pay.
such such elderly people are scarce. I mean, not all elderly people are like them. So
Yeah, I
I'm not.
agree, madam.
That's
See, some
other
of
thing.
them are, yes, so there are two reasons why the elderly people see you, what you're worried about. One is that they have already lived their life with a particular philosophy about particular ideology, and now if we are presenting something totally different, it can potentially shake them up. Not just at the age of elderly, as in 60, 70, 80. Even at 30 years, I have built my own castle, and I don't want to break it because this is all my belief system, my worldview. It's a very beautiful thing that I built within myself. And when somebody comes and says something to shackle it or disturb it or break it, I'm not even going to let that person come close to me. This is what we usually see, whether it is youngsters or elders or anybody. So we have to let them take their own time. All we can do is draw their attention. We can't force anybody to follow anything else. All we can do is request them to draw their attention. See, for example, by raising a few questions: what is naturally acceptable? Is respect naturally acceptable, or disrespect naturally acceptable? These questions will try to actually reach the natural acceptance of the other person. When I'm asking this question, the answer from you is actually almost coming from your natural acceptance. So this is one way to kind of activate their natural acceptance, and then maybe they would get interested and try to listen to you. So that is one possibility I can suggest you. Uh, as far as the self is concerned, irrespective of the body, the self is as active as it is at 10 years or 20 years. So the self is very much active at 60, 70, 80 also. The energy of the body may be a little less, but self is fully active.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. All right, thanks everybody. Thanks for staying. So see you all in the evening discussion session, and see you in the session tomorrow on implementation details of universal human values.